strategically think and imagine how the future may look like in 2040, which was a very exciting and intriguing process. Today I will try to share this process and the work with you, including our recommendations for the future from our ebook, which was published in December 2020. I am Didem Gurdur, and I am the lead author of the For Futures One Choice. I hope you will enjoy imagining how Britain may look like in 2040 as much as we did. Let me start with stating the obvious. We are experiencing unprecedented times. The arrival of 2020 has brought with it some of the most turbulent global events experienced in generations. Global pandemics, political unrest, environmental disasters have all contributed, not only 2020, but also 2021, being for the majority the very definition of unprecedented times. Yet we know that this is neither the first nor the last time that we will be faced with unprecedented, unexpected situations. And this is exactly why we did this study. When we started to work in this study in February 2020, there was no visible effects of pandemic yet. As you all know, in a few months' time, we found ourselves in the middle of ambiguity, uncertainty, and realized yet once again how unprepared the world was for this unknown. Why were we not prepared for pandemics? Why were we not considered these extreme events and planned for them? How much are we prepared for the next unexpected event, whatever it is? These were some of the questions that we have considered while we were writing this book. For Futures, One Choice presents us with a future lens, enabling us to view 4 scenarios of what Britain may look like in 2040, and emphasizes the importance of the decisions that we are taking now in these unprecedented times. One important approach that helped us during this study was the 3 worlds framework. This framework highlights 3 worlds, namely inner world, near world, and outer world. The inner world can be seen as our organizations, then the near world is our partners, stakeholders, suppliers, customers, and so on. And the outer world is essentially everything else. For many organizations, it is natural to develop strategies for the future by adopting an inside to outside perspective, as we inherently assume that we will have a greater control over in this inner world, and this will help us to influence the near world. In reality, it is entirely the opposite of this. Future events unfold in response to ever-changing contexts of the wilder world. We can design the best strategy for today by considering our organizations and our near world, our connections with these other stakeholders and so on, and think that it will work forever. But when unexpected events occur, like what we had, we find ourselves in a very vulnerable position. This is why we have used an outside to inside approach, and we would like to encourage all to use similar methodologies, and not only imagining how the changes in the outer world may affect us, but also to be prepared to different futures and have series of strategies to guide us when these different scenarios happen. I want to make one thing clear. It is impossible to know what the future will look like with 100% certainty. The idea behind this study and the whole scenario planning methodology is not to predict how the world will look like. Instead, the scenario planning aims to provide a creative environment with a methodology where people with different backgrounds come together and provide their views on current trends that are important for today. The future directions of these important trends may be predicted for next months or perhaps a year or 2, but it is impossible to make certain predictions for 2040. The scenarios, therefore, are not predictions, they are foresights. To create this environment, we have organized a workshop in Cambridge and invited researchers from Center for Digital Build Britain to work on understanding how Britain may look like in 2040. So we can develop strategies to make our built environment more sustainable, resilient, inclusive, and future-proof. In total, 16 participants and 2 facilitators attended to our 2-day workshop. The participants' research interest spans from data science, digital twins, digitalization, to architecture, economy, stakeholder engagement, and urban planning. These interdisciplinary group of people firstly worked on identifying influencing factors by trend spotting activity. We considered numerous perspectives by looking at different aspects of life. We have asked questions on how people may live, work, and how might they travel in 2040, how may the infrastructure look like, and what will be the role of technology in that world. How economy and government may function in 2040 and what might happen to our resources. In the 4 Futures, One Choice work, we have identified and studied more than 30 influencing factors related to the answers of these questions. I unfortunately do not have time to go through all of them. I will just mention some of them. We studied sustainable development goals, demographics, COVID-19 and recovery of it, smart mobility solutions, changing working patterns and labor market, data regulations, data privacy, data economy, digital twins, digital engagement, and so on. These influencing factors may result with different outcomes in 2040. And this uncertainty of what may they result with and how this result might affect the built environment gives us the chance to build different scenarios. After considering all of the influencing factors, we have identified 2 important uncertainties that would make it possible to define 4 different scenarios. These 2 main uncertainties are Sustainable Development Goals and the Age Dependency Ratio. Sustainable Development Goals are the 17 goals that set by United Nations and that envisions a world where built environment is a platform for the flourishing society and the natural world. The age dependency ratio is the number of dependent age citizens who are 0 to 15 or 68 plus years old, who depend on the working age population to support them, and working age population is defined at 16 to 67 years old. We have defined the outcomes of these 2 uncertainties as sustainable development goals may either result in success or failure, and the age dependency ratio can either be high or low. By considering these extremes of the 2 uncertainties on an uncertainty axis, we have created 4 scenarios for 2040. These 4 scenarios then defined in detail by considering the other 30 plus influencing factors that we have mentioned earlier. Unfortunately, I don't have time to go through these scenarios one by one. I just want to show you how we designed and presented these scenarios in the book, and I hope I can convince you to download it and read it for more information. So for each scenario, we have considered the influencing factors, and we gave the scenario name. In this example, the name of the scenario is A Legacy of Hope. It describes a world where sustainable development goals are achieved and there is high dependency ratio. This means that we have small population for the workforce. Here, digital technologies are supporting this shrinking workforce. For each scenario, we also presented testimonials. We produced 2 of these for each scenario. They are fictional, but illustrate the point of view of someone living in the futures that we imagined. And we hope that it makes it easier to grasp the idea and gives more nuance to scenarios. And this is the second scenario, this is the third, and this is the fourth scenario, but I cannot go in deep. I just want to maybe summarize what we have come at the end by looking at these scenarios. When we have studied and wrote these scenarios, we felt right away the power of using them, because each one of them sounds plausible. Each one of them may happen. As we already discussed, we also know that probably none of them will happen. But the importance of this work and the scenarios are not about forecasting what will happen. Instead, what we are after is to show how our decisions from today may shape completely different futures, not for only us, but also for our loved ones and the next generations. Before concluding this talk, I want to talk about a few important strategies and tips that we developed after considering these first worlds. This can help us to change the future of built environment for better. We mainly identified 3 strategies. Firstly, we suggest thoughtful investment in digital technology, where we put the people and the planet first. Enable value-led procurement guided by moral and ethical principles, and we build smarter. Secondly, we suggest to prioritize decarbonization and biodiversity, because we all know that we are already too late to do this. There is no more time to lose. We should use modern methods of construction, value natural environment as much as the built environment, adopt circular economy, and join forces to develop a built environment which benefits all. And lastly, we suggest to develop governance today for a better tomorrow. We should make ourselves accountable, pilot social income support options such as living wage or universal basic income, support and adopt green information economy, create sustainable and caring jobs, and enable wider participation and engagement of the citizens. We have this work out in multiple forms to reach as many audience as possible, because we believe it has value for everyone. You can choose to read the book or the summary of it. We recorded a panel discussion with all of our co-authors which is also available on the website here. There is also an interactive children's book featuring an animated choose your own adventure style story for ages 8 to 11. Also get in touch if you have any questions, and I would like to thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any of your questions later when we have time for that. And thank you very much again.